Lisa Martinez rubbed her tired eyes and looked at the screen again. She had been working for 12 hours straight at the deep space monitoring station called New Horizon. The station floated in the dark space at the edge of human territory, listening for signals from the stars. Most days, Lisa heard nothing but static and the normal sounds of space. Radio waves from distant stars, the hum of solar winds, and sometimes messages from human ships traveling between planets. But today was different. Hidden in all the noise, she found something strange. The signal was very weak. It came and went, like a whisper in the wind. Lisa put on her headphones and turned up the volume. The sound was unlike anything she had heard before. It was not human, and it was not from any of the alien races that humans knew about. Lisa called her supervisor over. "Captain Sullivan, you need to hear this." Jake Sullivan was a tall man with graying hair who had spent 20 years in space. He walked over to Lisa's workstation and put on the spare headphones. His face changed as he listened to the strange signal. "How long have you been picking this up?" Jake asked. "About 2 hours now. It keeps repeating the same pattern. I think it might be a message, but I cannot understand it." Jake nodded slowly. "Get Dr. Foster and Rick Coleman up here right away. We need our best people looking at this." Within an hour, the communications room was crowded. Dr. Amanda Foster was the station's expert on alien languages. She was a small woman with thick glasses who could speak 7 different alien tongues. Rick Coleman was their computer specialist, a young man who could make any machine do what he wanted. Amanda listened to the signal for a long time. She made notes and drew strange symbols on her tablet. Rick ran the signal through every computer program they had, looking for patterns and meaning. "It is definitely artificial," Amanda said after 2 hours of work. "Someone or something made this signal on purpose. The patterns are too regular to be natural." Rick looked up from his computer. "The signal is coming from a star system about 40 light years away. But here is the weird part. The signal is very old. It has been traveling through space for months." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. "Months? So whoever sent this has been waiting for help for a very long time." They worked through the night. Other crew members brought them coffee and food, but the 3 scientists hardly noticed. They were focused on solving the mystery of the signal. By morning, they had made progress. Amanda had figured out that the signal was made up of mathematical concepts mixed with what looked like emotional expressions. Rick had cleaned up the static and made the message clearer. "I think this is a distress call," Amanda said, her voice tired but excited. "The mathematical parts give coordinates to a star system. The other parts, and they sound desperate, scared." Rick nodded. "The coordinates match what I found. Someone is asking for help and they told us exactly where to find them." Jake stood up and stretched his back. "Have we contacted the Galactic Council about this?" The Galactic Council was a group of alien races that worked together to keep peace in space. Humans had joined the council 50 years ago. The main members were the Zentari, who looked like tall, thin people with blue skin. The Kelthans were logical creatures that looked like walking crystals. The Vespari were traders who resembled large insects. "I sent a message to all council members last night," Lisa said. "I got responses from everyone. None of them have heard this signal. They all say their listening posts picked up nothing from that area of space. This news made everyone quiet. How could a signal that humans could hear be invisible to more advanced alien races?" Dr. Foster broke the silence. "Maybe their equipment cannot detect this type of signal. Or maybe they are not listening in the right places. Or maybe they heard it and chose to ignore it," Rick said quietly. Jake did not like that idea, but he could not dismiss it. He had learned that the alien races in the council were very different from humans. They avoided conflict and preferred to talk rather than fight. If someone was asking for help against a dangerous enemy, the aliens might decide it was too risky to get involved. Commander Helen Brooks arrived as the team was discussing their options. She was the highest-ranking officer on the station, a stern woman who made hard decisions every day. Jake explained what they had found. Helen listened without interrupting. When Jake finished, she was quiet for a long moment. So we have a distress call from an unknown species, asking for help against some kind of threat. The call has been traveling through space for months, which means whoever sent it might already be dead. The Galactic Council races either cannot hear the signal or are pretending they cannot. Is that correct? Yes, Commander, Jake said. Helen walked to the window that looked out into space. Stars twinkled in the distance, cold and silent. What do you recommend, Captain? Jake had been thinking about this question all night. I think we should investigate. We have ships that can reach those coordinates. If someone needs help, we should try to provide it. Even if the Galactic Council will not support us? Especially, then, if we are the only ones who can help, then we have a responsibility to try. Helen smiled for the first time that day. I was hoping you would say that. Prepare the Defiant for a long-range mission. Pick your crew carefully, Captain. We might be going into danger. As word spread through the station, volunteers lined up to join the mission. 40 crew members were chosen from over 200 who wanted to help. They included Marines, scientists, engineers, and pilots. Lisa Martinez would go as the communications officer. Amanda Foster and Rick Coleman would continue working to understand the alien signal. The ship would carry weapons, medical supplies, and equipment to help whoever had sent the desperate message. 3 days later, the Defiant left New Horizon and jumped into hyperspace, heading toward the unknown star system. The crew did not know what they would find there, but they knew one thing for certain. They were the only ones coming to help. The Defiant dropped out of hyperspace and entered the target star system. Captain Jake Sullivan stood on the bridge, looking at the main screen with a heavy heart. What he saw was not what he had hoped to find. 3 planets in the system looked like they had been attacked. Their surfaces were covered with dark craters and glowing scars. What used to be cities were now just ruins. Pieces of destroyed space stations floated in orbit around the planets like metal graveyards. My God, whispered Lisa Martinez from her communications station. What happened here? Rick Coleman was scanning the system with every sensor the ship had. I am detecting massive energy weapon damage across all 3 worlds. This was not a natural disaster. Someone did this on purpose. Dr. Amanda Foster studied the readings on her screen. The damage patterns suggest the attacks happened recently, maybe within the last few months, right around the time that distress signal was sent. Jake felt sick looking at the destruction. Millions of beings had probably lived on those planets. Now they were gone. Are there any life signs? He asked. Rick checked his instruments carefully. The first 3 planets show no life at all. But wait, I am getting something from the 4th planet. There are life signs deep underground. Jake made his decision quickly. Set course for the 4th planet. Prepare a landing team. The 4th planet looked different from the others. Its surface was not as damaged, but it was covered with strange metal structures that had not been there before. The structures looked like machines, but they were not moving. Lieutenant Ben Parker was the leader of the Marine squad on the ship. He was a tough man who had fought in several battles. Captain, I recommend we land away from those metal things. We do not know if they are dangerous. Jake agreed. The Defiant landed in a forest area several miles away from the nearest metal structure. The landing team included Ben Parker and 5 Marines, Dr. Amanda Foster, Engineer Pete Harrison, and scientist Dr. Carol Wright. They walked through the forest toward the life signs that Rick had detected. The trees were tall and had silver leaves that made musical sounds in the wind. It was beautiful, but also sad because they could see smoke rising from destroyed areas in the distance. After an hour of walking, they found what they were looking for. Hidden under a hill was the entrance to a large underground complex. The entrance was covered with metal doors that looked very advanced. Pete Harrison studied the doors with his equipment. These are not like anything humans have built. The metal is some kind of crystal compound. Very strong. As they approached, the doors suddenly opened. Soft light came from inside, and they heard a sound like wind chimes mixed with music. That might be how they talk, Dr. Foster said. Everyone stay calm and keep your weapons ready, but do not point them at anyone. They walked into the underground complex. The walls were made of the same crystal metal as the doors, and they glowed with soft colors. The hallways were wide and curved, like they were designed for beings who moved differently than humans. Soon they met the people who lived there. The team stopped and stared in wonder. The aliens were unlike anything humans had ever seen. They were tall and thin, about 7 feet high, and their bodies seemed to be made of living crystal. Light moved through their bodies in patterns, and when they moved, they made the musical sounds the team had heard. One of the aliens approached them. It was older than the others, with more complex patterns of light moving through its crystal body. When it got close, it touched a device on the wall. Suddenly, the team could understand what it was saying. The translation device turned the musical sounds into words they could hear. "Welcome, beings from the distant world," the alien said. Its voice sounded like gentle music. "I am Elder Harmonics of the Deep Crystal. We are the Nithine. We have been waiting and hoping that someone would hear our call." Dr. Foster stepped forward. "We are humans from Earth. We received your distress signal and came to help. What happened here?" The Elder's light patterns changed to darker colors. "The harvesters came to our world 6 months ago. They are machines that consume everything. Our cities, our people, our technology. They turn everything into more of themselves." Ben Parker looked around the underground complex. He saw hundreds of Nithine moving through the hallways. "How many of you are left?" "This is all that remains of our people. 2,000 Nithine from a population that once numbered in the millions. The harvesters destroyed our other worlds completely. This planet is the last one with any survivors." Dr. Wright asked the important question. "Where are these harvesters now?" "They are still here," the Elder said. "They built those metal structures you saw on the surface. They are processing our planet, slowly consuming everything. Soon they will find us down here." Jake spoke into his communicator. "Rick, are you hearing this?" Rick's voice came back from the ship. "Yes, Captain. And I have bad news. Those metal structures on the surface just started moving. I think the harvesters know we are here." The Elder looked at the humans with hope and fear in his crystal eyes. "You came such a long way to help us. But I fear you have arrived too late. The harvesters are too powerful. They have destroyed every world that tried to resist them." Ben Parker checked his weapon. "How many of these harvesters are there?" "Thousands of machines on this planet alone, but they are controlled by something much larger. A great ship that orbits at the edge of our star system. We call it the Prime Node. It commands all the smaller machines." Dr. Foster was thinking hard. "Elder, when you sent your distress call, did any other species respond?" The Elder's light patterns became very sad. "Many species received our message. The Zentari, the Kelthans, the Vespari, and others. And they all sent messages saying they were sorry for our situation, but they could not help. They said the harvesters were too dangerous to fight." "But you came," another Nithine said, approaching the group. "You are from a world the others call a death world, are you not? A place where life must fight to survive?" Jake nodded. "Earth can be a dangerous place. Humans have had to fight for everything we have." "That is why you came when the others would not," the Elder said. "You are not afraid to fight when there is no choice." Suddenly, alarms started ringing throughout the underground complex. A young Nithine ran up to the Elder, speaking rapidly in their musical language. The Elder turned to the humans. "The harvesters have found our entrance. They're coming down into our sanctuary. We must evacuate deeper into the complex." Ben Parker spoke into his communicator. "Captain Sullivan, we need immediate extraction. The enemy has found the aliens' hiding place." Jake's voice came back. "Negative, Lieutenant. We are not leaving these people behind. Find another way out and get them to safety. We will figure out how to fight these harvesters." As the team helped the Nithine evacuate deeper underground, Dr. Wright asked the Elder a crucial question. "Have the harvesters ever fought against a species like humans before?" The Elder thought for a moment. "No. Every species they have conquered gave up when they saw the harvesters' power. None ever fought back with the determination we have heard about from your kind." Ben Parker smiled grimly as he helped carry Nithine children to safety. Then these harvesters are about to learn something new about Deathworlders. The humans and Nithine reached the deepest level of the underground complex just as the harvesters broke through the upper levels. Dr. Carol Wright could hear the sound of metal cutting through crystal walls above them. Elder harmonics of the deep crystal led them to a large chamber filled with broken pieces of harvester machines. We managed to destroy a few of their scouts, the elder explained, but we could not understand how they work. Dr. Wright knelt beside one of the damaged machines. It was about the size of a human, made of dark metal that seemed to absorb light. Strange symbols covered its surface and cables hung from its broken parts like metal intestines. "Pete, help me get this thing to a work table," she said to engineer Pete Harrison. "I want to see what makes these monsters tick." While Dr. Wright examined the harvester remains, Communications Officer Tony Silva worked with the Nithine to set up a secure communication link with the Defiant. The ship was hidden on the other side of the planet, but they needed to stay in contact. "Captain Sullivan, we are safe for now," Tony reported. "The harvesters seem to be searching the upper levels systematically. We have maybe 6 hours before they find us down here." Jake's voice came through the communicator. "Understood. What have you learned about the enemy?" Dr. Wright looked up from the machine she was studying. "These things are incredibly advanced, but they follow very predictable patterns. They use the same attack methods every time. It is like they have never needed to change their tactics." The elder approached the work table. "That is because no one has ever fought back effectively. Every species that encountered the harvesters either surrendered immediately or was destroyed so quickly they could not adapt." Scout pilot Kelly Moore had been flying reconnaissance missions around the planet in a small fighter. Her voice came over the radio. "Captain, I have been watching the harvester patterns from above. They move in perfect formations and never deviate from their programmed routes. They are like a computer program made of metal." Dr. Wright found something interesting inside the damaged harvester. "Look at this processing unit. It is connected to a communication array. These machines are all linked together, sharing information instantly." "A hive mind," said Tactical Officer Greg Adams from the ship. "That explains why they coordinate so well. But it might also be a weakness." Elder Harmonics explained more about the harvester's methods. "They arrive at a world and immediately begin building those metal structures you saw. The structures convert organic matter and minerals into more harvester units. Within weeks, they can multiply their numbers by thousands." Dr. Wright continued her examination. "The interesting thing is that these machines seem designed to fight against peaceful civilizations. Look at their weapons. They are designed for mass destruction, not for fighting against an enemy that fights back." Tony Silva had been monitoring harvester communications. "I am picking up their transmissions. They use a very complex language, but it seems to be entirely logical. No emotional content at all." "That makes sense," Dr. Wright said. "These are machines. They probably cannot understand concepts like courage, sacrifice, or determination." Scout pilot Kelly Moore reported in again. "I found something important. There is a massive ship at the edge of the star system. It is easily 10 times larger than anything humanity has ever built. The Nithine were right. That must be the prime node that controls all the smaller machines." Elder Harmonics confirmed this. "Yes, that is the source of their power. All the smaller harvesters receive orders from the prime node. If it were destroyed, the others might stop functioning." Greg Adams studied the tactical situation. "The problem is getting close to it. That ship probably has thousands of defensive systems. A direct attack would be suicide." Dr. Wright made a discovery that changed everything. She had connected one of the harvester communication units to her portable computer. "I think I found something. These machines have never encountered a species that thinks like humans do." "What do you mean?" asked Pete Harrison. "Watch this," Dr. Wright said. She showed them a recording of harvester communications during a previous conquest. When they attacked the Zentari homeworld, the Zentari government immediately offered to surrender and negotiate. The harvesters had protocols for that situation. She showed them another recording. When they attacked the Kelthan colonies, the Kelthans tried to use logic to convince the harvesters to stop. Again, the machines had programmed responses. "But what happens when they encounter humans?" Tony Silva asked. Dr. Wright smiled. "That is the point. Humans do things that make no logical sense to these machines. We fight even when we cannot win. We sacrifice ourselves for others. We take crazy risks for no logical reason. Elder Harmonix was fascinated by this idea. You mean the harvesters cannot predict human behavior because humans do not always act logically? Exactly. These machines were programmed by a civilization that probably eliminated conflict and emotions from their society thousands of years ago. They created the perfect weapons for conquering logical, peaceful species. But they never considered what would happen if they met a species of warriors. Captain Sullivan's voice came over the communicator. Dr. Wright, are you saying that our biggest weakness might actually be our biggest strength? That is exactly what I'm saying, Captain. Humans are unpredictable. We do stupid, brave things that no logical mind would consider. To these machines, we must seem completely insane. Scout pilot Kelly Moore had been listening to the conversation. Captain, I have an idea. What if we use that against them? What if we do something so crazy that their programming cannot handle it? Greg Adams was getting excited. We could hit them where they do not expect it. Instead of attacking their strongest points, we go after their weakest. Instead of fighting their main forces, we target their supply lines. Elder Harmonix was amazed. No species has ever tried such tactics against the harvesters. They always tried to match the machine's strength with strength. Dr. Wright had found more useful information in the harvester remains. According to their internal databases, the harvesters have conquered 47 different civilizations. Every single conquest followed the same pattern. They arrive, demonstrate overwhelming force, and the local population surrenders or is quickly eliminated. But humans do not surrender, Pete Harrison said proudly. And we do not get eliminated easily, added Tony Silva. Elder Harmonix looked at the humans with something that might have been hope. You really think you can fight them? Even though they outnumber you thousands to one? Captain Sullivan's voice came through the communicator with determination. Elder, humans have been fighting against impossible odds for our entire history. We have fought wars where we were outnumbered, outgunned, and had no logical chance of winning. Sometimes we lost, but sometimes we won anyway. Dr. Wright packed up her equipment. I need to get back to the ship. I think I can build something that will give us an advantage, but I need access to the ship's computer systems. What kind of advantage? Greg Adams asked. A virus, something that can spread through their communication network and cause chaos in their coordination. If I am right about their inability to handle unpredictable behavior, a virus that makes them act randomly might cripple their entire system. Elder Harmonix was quiet for a long moment. You would risk your lives for us even though we are strangers to you? Tony Silva answered for all of them. Elder, where we come from, when someone sends a distress call, you answer it. It does not matter who they are or how dangerous it is to help them. As the team prepared to return to the ship, they could hear the harvesters getting closer. But, for the first time since the machines had arrived, the Nethene had hope. They had found allies who were too stubborn to know when they were beaten. The rescue team made it back to the Defiant just as the sun was setting on the Nethene world. Captain Jake Sullivan was relieved to see them safe, but he could tell from their faces that the situation was worse than they had thought. Dr. Carol Wright went straight to the ship's computer lab and began working on her virus program. She had been thinking about it during the entire trip back, and she knew exactly what she needed to do. 2 days later, everything changed. A new ship appeared at the edge of the star system. It was the heavy cruiser Valiant, commanded by Captain Steve Murphy. Jake had sent a message to Earth asking for help, and humanity had responded. The Valiant carried 200 additional crew members, including Marines, fighter pilots, and weapons specialists. When Captain Murphy came aboard the Defiant to meet with Jake, he brought news from Earth. The government approved this mission unanimously, Steve Murphy said. When they heard that humans were the only ones willing to help, they decided to send everything we could spare. Jake was grateful for the reinforcements, but he was also worried. Steve, we are still outnumbered more than 10 to 1. The harvesters have thousands of machines and we have less than 300 people. Steve Murphy smiled. Jake, my friend, you are thinking like those peaceful aliens. You are trying to match the enemy's strength with strength. But humans, do not fight that way. The new arrivals included Marine Colonel Lisa Rodriguez, a tough woman who had fought in 3 different wars. She listened to the reports about the harvesters and immediately began planning an unconventional battle strategy. "We are not going to meet them in open combat," Lisa explained to the combined crew. "That is what they expect. Instead, we are going to use the asteroid belt around this star system as our battlefield." The asteroid belt was perfect for the kind of fighting that humans did best. It was full of rocks, debris, and hiding places. The harvesters, who were used to fighting in open space, would have trouble using their superior numbers. Fighter pilot Nina Cooper was excited about the plan. She was one of the best pilots in the human fleet, and she loved flying in difficult conditions. "Colonel, my squadron can use those asteroids like a 3-dimensional maze. We can hit the harvesters and disappear before they know what happened." Demolitions expert Carl Jensen had an even better idea. "What if we plant explosives on some of the larger asteroids? We could turn them into mines and blow up harvester ships when they get too close," while the military personnel planned their tactics. Dr. Wright continued working on her computer virus. She had discovered that the harvesters' main weakness was their inability to understand sacrifice and illogical behavior. "I am programming the virus to make random decisions," she explained to the other scientists. "When it infects a harvester, the machine will start doing things that make no sense. It might attack its own allies or ignore obvious targets or waste ammunition on empty space." Engineer Maya Stone helped Dr. Wright refine the virus. Maya was a genius with computer systems, and she understood how to make the virus spread through the harvester network. "The beauty of this plan is that the more logical the harvesters try to be, the more the virus will confuse them," Maya said. "It is like trying to solve a math problem where the numbers keep changing randomly." The Nithene were amazed by human preparations for battle. Elder Harmonics of the Deep Crystal watched as the human crews prepared weapons, programmed fighter, ships, and planned attack routes. "Your people are so different from any species we have known," the Elder said to Captain Sullivan. "You prepare for war like others prepare for a celebration." Jake laughed. "Elder, humans have been fighting wars for thousands of years. We are very good at it, even when we probably should not be." The Nithene wanted to help with the battle preparations. Even though they were a peaceful people, they were angry about what the harvesters had done to their worlds. Young Nithene volunteers learned how to use human communications equipment and helped monitor harvester movements. Scout pilot Kelly Moore made regular flights to watch the enemy. She reported that the harvesters were building more of their metal processing structures and seemed to be preparing for a major operation. "They are definitely planning something big," Kelly reported. "I counted at least 50 new machines being built every day. If we are going to strike, it should be soon." Dr. Wright finally finished her virus program. She had tested it on the captured harvester remains, and the results were encouraging. The infected machine had tried to attack the wall, then attempted to communicate with a broken radio, and finally started moving in circles. "The virus is ready," she announced. "But we need to get it directly into the harvester network. That means someone has to fly close enough to the prime node to upload it." This was the most dangerous part of the plan. The prime node was protected by thousands of harvester ships, and getting close to it would be almost impossible. Pilot Danny Ross volunteered for the mission immediately. He was a quiet man who had never married because he said his job was too dangerous. "I will fly the upload mission," he said simply. "Danny, you understand this is probably a one-way trip?" Captain Sullivan asked. Danny nodded. "Captain, someone has to do it. Those crystal people down there are counting on us. Besides, if we do not stop the harvesters here, they will just move on to the next world. Maybe eventually they will reach Earth." Colonel Rodriguez finalized the battle plan. The human fleet would split into 3 groups. One group would attack the harvester forces in the asteroid belt to draw their attention. The second group would assault the processing facilities on the planet's surface. The third group, led by Danny Ross, would try to reach the prime node and upload the virus. The Nithene provided crucial intelligence about harvester behavior patterns. They had been watching the machines for months and knew when they were most vulnerable. "The harvesters change shifts every 12 hours, Elder Harmonics explained. For exactly 3 minutes during each shift change, Their coordination is slightly reduced as new commanders take control. Maya Stone calculated the timing perfectly. If we attack during the shift change and Danny uploads the virus at the same moment, the confusion should multiply exponentially. As the final preparations were made, Captain Murphy addressed both crews. Tomorrow we fight not just for the Nethene, but for every peaceful species in the galaxy. The Harvesters think that logic and superior numbers always win. We are going to show them that sometimes courage and stubbornness are more powerful than perfect planning. That night, many of the crew members could not sleep. They knew that tomorrow would determine whether humanity's reputation as Deathworlders was deserved, or whether they were just another species that would be consumed by the Harvester machines. Dr. Wright made final adjustments to her virus, while Maya Stone prepared the upload systems. Fighter pilots checked their ships one last time. Marines cleaned their weapons and said goodbye to friends. In the early morning, as the two human ships moved toward their attack positions, Elder Harmonic sent a message to Captain Sullivan. "Thank you for coming when no one else would. Whatever happens tomorrow, the Nethene will remember that when we needed help, the Deathworlders answered our call." The battle began at dawn. Captain Jake Sullivan watched from the bridge of the Defiant as human fighter ships spread out through the asteroid belt like angry wasps. The Harvesters responded exactly as Colonel Lisa Rodriguez had predicted, sending large formations of their ships to hunt down the human fighters. Nina Cooper led her squadron through the floating rocks with incredible skill. Her voice came over the radio as she attacked a group of Harvester ships. "This is Falcon Squadron. We have engaged the enemy. They are following us into the asteroid field just like we wanted. The Harvesters were powerful, but they were not built for this kind of fighting. Their large ships could not move quickly through the narrow spaces between asteroids. The human fighters, smaller and more agile, darted between the rocks like fish swimming through coral. Carl Jensen's explosive traps worked perfectly. When a Harvester ship flew too close to a prepared asteroid, the hidden bombs exploded and sent chunks of rock smashing into the enemy vessels. Several Harvester ships were destroyed before they realized what was happening. On the planet's surface, Marine Colonel Rodriguez led an assault on the Harvester processing facilities. Her troops moved fast and hit hard, destroying the metal structures before the machines could respond effectively. "The surface attacks are working," Rodriguez reported. "We have destroyed 12 processing plants. The Harvesters are pulling ships back from the asteroid belt to defend their ground facilities. This was exactly what the humans wanted. By forcing the Harvesters to split their attention, the human forces created an opening for the most important part of their plan." Danny Ross flew his small ship toward the edge of the star system, where the massive prime node waited. His ship was loaded with Dr. Carol Wright's virus program, and the equipment needed to upload it to the Harvester network. "Danny, you are approaching the outer defensive perimeter," warned Tony Silva from his monitoring station. "I count at least 200 Harvester ships between you and the prime node." "I see them," Danny replied calmly, beginning evasive maneuvers. Danny was one of the best pilots humanity had ever produced, but even he could not fight through 200 enemy ships alone. His only chance was to use speed, surprise, and the confusion caused by the other human attacks. Maya Stone tracked the upload mission from the Defiance computer center. "Danny, you need to get within 500 meters of the prime node to establish a direct connection. The virus upload will take exactly 90 seconds. "Understood," Danny said. 90 seconds. I can do that." But as Danny approached the prime node, disaster struck. A group of Harvester ships detected his approach and moved to intercept him. Energy beams flashed past his ship as he dodged through space. "Danny, you have company," Captain Sullivan warned. 6 Harvester fighters closing on your position." Danny's ship shook as enemy fire hit his shields. "Shields down to 40%. I do not think I can reach the upload point." Elder Harmonics of the Deep Crystal was monitoring the battle from the underground complex on the planet. Through the communication link, he heard Danny's situation and made a decision that surprised everyone. "Human pilot Danny Ross," the Elder said over the radio. "We Nethene have been hiding and running for too long. It is time for us to fight alongside our new friends." Suddenly, Dozens of small Nithene ships rose from hidden positions on the planet's surface. The ships were old and not very powerful, but they flew straight toward the Harvester forces attacking Danny. "Elder, what are you doing?" Captain Sullivan asked. "Your ships cannot match the Harvester's firepower." "Perhaps not," the Elder replied, "but we can distract them long enough for Danny to complete his mission. You humans have shown us that sometimes courage is more important than logic." The Nithene ships attacked the Harvester forces with desperate bravery. They were destroyed quickly, but their sacrifice gave Danny the opening he needed. He flew his damaged ship straight toward the prime node. "I am in position," Danny reported. "Beginning virus upload." The massive prime node was larger than anything humans had ever built. It was covered with weapons and defensive systems, all of which were now firing at Danny's small ship. His shields failed completely and his ship began to break apart. "Upload at 30%, Maya Stone reported. "Danny, your ship is not going to survive much longer." "I know," Danny said. "Upload at 50%, keep going." Energy beams tore through Danny's ship. His life support systems failed, and his engines were destroyed. But he kept his ship's computers running and the virus continued to upload into the Harvester network. "Upload at 70%, Maya announced. "Danny, respond please." There was no answer from Danny's ship. It was drifting dead in space, held in position only by the gravity of the massive prime node. "Upload at 90%, Maya said, her voice shaking. "Come on, Danny, just a few more seconds." The upload completed just as Danny's ship finally exploded. The virus program shot through the Harvester communication network like lightning, spreading to every machine in the star system within seconds. The effect was immediate and devastating. Harvester ships that had been flying in perfect formation suddenly began moving randomly. Some attacked their own allies. Others started flying in circles. Many simply stopped moving altogether. "The virus is working," Dr. Wright shouted. "The Harvester coordination network is collapsing." Captain Steve Murphy saw the opportunity and ordered all human forces to attack. "All ships, this is Captain Murphy. The enemy is confused and disorganized. Attack now with everything we have." The human fighters emerged from the asteroid belt and fell upon the confused Harvester forces. Nina Cooper's squadron destroyed a dozen enemy ships that were too busy firing at empty space to defend themselves. On the planet's surface, the Nithene survivors saw the Harvester machines beginning to malfunction. Processing facilities shut down. Guard units wandered aimlessly. Some machines even began tearing apart their own structures. The prime node itself was affected by the virus. Its massive bulk began to spin slowly, and explosions started appearing across its surface as internal systems fought against each other. Within hours, the battle was over. Most of the Harvester ships had either been destroyed by the humans or had destroyed themselves in confusion. The few remaining machines shut down completely when the prime node finally exploded. Elder Harmonics of the Deep Crystal stood on the surface of his world and watched the Harvester structures crumble. "It is over," he said to Captain Sullivan. "After 6 months of terror, it is finally over." Jake looked at the ruins of the enemy machines scattered across the planet. "Danny Ross gave his life to make this possible. He will be remembered." The Elder was quiet for a moment. "Captain Sullivan, when we sent our distress call, we hoped that someone in the galaxy would have both the technology and the courage to help us. We never imagined that only one species would have both." In the weeks that followed, human engineers helped the Nithene rebuild their world. More human ships arrived to establish a permanent base in the system, not as conquerors, but as protectors. News of the victory spread through the galaxy. Other species learned that when the peaceful methods failed, there was one species that would fight against impossible odds to protect the innocent. Captain Sullivan's final log entry captured the meaning of what had happened. Today we learned that in a galaxy full of logical, peaceful civilizations, sometimes the most illogical thing, fighting a war you cannot win, is exactly what needs to be done. The Harvesters were defeated not by superior technology, but by the one thing they could never understand: the willingness of Deathworlders to sacrifice everything for strangers who asked for help.